When we talk about what's going on over there in Europe, and when Vice President JD Vance went over there to lay the smack down,
You are the son of a traitor.
in reality, we're really talking about this.
Reason why you have to fight them is because they are Jews and Christians.
You think that Jewish people are white colonizers? Is that what you think?
Yeah.
Most Israelis come from Arabic countries where they were expelled. Talk about the Jewish Nakba. 800,000 Jews were expelled from Arabic countries when Israel was formed. What you don't know about that, do you?
Immigration. That's what we're talking about. JD Vance went over there and showed all the way out. What's up, everybody? I'm Quisha King. Welcome to the Quisha King Show. JD Vance recently was over in Munich and he gave this crazy speech, crazy meaning good, speech about how Europe needs to get its act together and basically remember who you are. Remember what you came from. Remember your values. Stop with all the Enlightenment, postmodernism bullcrap because it's not working, boo. Okay?
The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values, values shared with the United States of America. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values. We must live them. And consider the side in that fight that censored dissidents, that closed churches, that canceled elections. Were they the good guys? Certainly not. Look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action.
Talk about it.
Look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago, the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for,
That is crazy.
Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion.
Silent prayer. Y'all arresting people for thinking. This silent prayers. And Christians, y'all had the audacity to tell me that because I'm a Christian, I don't need to be involved in this political stuff. You just sit this one out, Quiche. This is not where you belong. You're not supposed to be over here doing political stuff. They're over in Germany or in Europe, wherever this was in Europe, I forget, and arresting you for thinking. the wrong thought. That's insane.
This last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime.
I remember when they were breaking into people's homes in Europe for praying privately. And you understand, Europe is supposed to be a friend in the idea that we worship the same God. So I said recently that culture is basically, it basically ultimately just reveals what God you worship. That's when you boil it all down. That's basically what it means. If you worship this God, this is how we do. If you worship that God, that's how y'all do. We supposedly worship the same God. Okay, that's why Israel is a friend. Most countries in Europe are friends because of their a Christian, Judeo-Christian value system, whether or not it's explicitly stated, it is culturally that we know America is built on Judeo-Christian values. That is why this is such a important thing for Christians to pay attention to. Not only that, because they're coming for your prayer, but because the Bible tells us that we're going to experience these things. These are the things that we need to be paying attention to know the signs of the times. That's why we need to be involved in politics.
I will admit that sometimes the loudest voices for censorship have come not from within Europe, but from within my own country, where the prior administration threatened and bullied social media companies to censor so-called misinformation. Misinformation like, for example, the idea that coronavirus had likely leaked from a laboratory in China. Our own government encouraged private companies to silence people who dared to utter what turned out to be an obvious truth. In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town, and under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree.
Oh, they mad. They big mad.
Today, almost 1 in 5 people living in this country moved here from abroad. That is, of course, an all-time high. It's a similar number, by the way, in the United States, also an all-time high. The number of immigrants who entered the EU from non-EU countries doubled between 2021.
It is not a coincidence that Western countries at the same time have all been invaded by people who worship different gods, people who have a different culture, people, you're not like us. Okay? Sorry, just the truth. They're not. There is a different culture, different God that has been coming in, and Europe doesn't want to acknowledge what is happening because they think they want to be all inclusive and diverse and all of that. Okay, well, you're about to be taken over.
But why did this happen in the first place? It's a terrible story, but it's one we've heard way too many times in Europe and unfortunately too many times in the United States as well. An asylum seeker, often a young man in his mid-20s, already known to police, rams a car into a crowd and shatters a community. How many times?
And by asylum seeker, he's being nice. When it comes to America, these be straight up and down illegal immigrants. Straight up and down, already known, not an asylum seeker.
Must we suffer these appalling setbacks before we change course and take our shared civilization in a new direction? No voter on this continent went to the ballot box to open the floodgates to millions of unvetted immigrants. But you know what they did vote for? In England, they voted for Brexit, and agree or disagree, they voted for it. And more all over Europe, they're voting for political leaders who promise to put an end to out-of-control migration. Europeans, the people, have a voice. European leaders have a choice. And my strong belief is that we do not need to be afraid of the future. You can embrace what your people tell you, even when it's surprising, even when you don't agree. And if you do so, you can face the future with certainty and with confidence, knowing that the nation stands behind each of you. And that, to me, is the great magic of democracy. It's not in these stone buildings or beautiful hotels. It's not even in the great institutions that we have built together as a shared society. To believe in democracy is to understand that each of our citizens has wisdom and has a voice. And if we refuse to listen to that voice, even our most successful fights will secure very little.
Wow, that was a really great speech. I encourage you to go and watch the entire thing. But JD Vance went over there to handle business. Trump, I really truly believe this, that the more I'm sitting back and I'm watching how Trump is moving, it looks like Trump has had this plan laid out for a long time. And JD Vance going over to Europe is very pertinent to communicate. There is a new sheriff in town. And let me tell you something, all that DEI, all of that enlightenment stuff, all that postmodern stuff that y'all trying to drag over here to the United States, we don't want that. We don't want your liberal age. We don't want your liberal, we're not trying to do that anymore. It failed. There are too many stories of Westerners who have been jailed for praying, jailed for posting and talking and just doing Western things that we have learned that makes societies freer. They're trying to backtrack all of that. And it's not happening on one plane. This is exactly what happened in the 60s. In the 60s, it wasn't just the Civil Rights Act. It was the sexual freedom and the feminist movement and then the civil rights movement, and abortion came along in the early 70s. And all of these things were happening at the same time that destroyed the family. And they were about to take that up to a whole nother level, or they were taking it up to a whole nother level with this flooding in of immigration, all of these people from these different countries just going and coming into these Western nations and further deteriorating what we have built. And it is come full circle, because now you have people who say, no, we want segregation. Now we have people that say, oh, we want you to look at what color we are and all of this stuff. When we were saying, no, let's just be a colorblind society. We're not going to look at any of those things. But now Europe, they have gone plumb crazy. These ideas, these communist ideas, that's where they come from. They come from that side of the world. And so America was like, no, we're not doing that. Hence the Soviet Union coming down and all that stuff. But they still on that time. They haven't fully shed. They are still trying to push past God, is honestly what it's all about. They're trying to push past God. There's no other way to say it. Not only are Christians being persecuted, but Western ideas are being crushed. And the reason why Christians need to pay attention to this is because Western ideas, most of them, if not all of them, stem from Christian ideas. And when the Christian ideas start to crumble, so does our environment. So does our way of life, our way of living. Europe has been just allowing all these Muslims to come and bum rush their country. What other places has this been happening? These things are layered. So just like in the 60s, you had the Civil Rights Act, you had the feminist movement, you had the sexual revolution, you had all of these things being built on top of each other. Then here comes, this new wave of critical race theory, DEI, all of these things. It's pushing this liberal order further and further away from biblical truth, from the values that we said we believe in. It is crazy what Germany in particular is doing. 60 Minutes just did a sit down with prosecutors from Germany who are the ones giving, prosecuting these cases and saying, yeah, go and run up in these people's house for freaking praying silently. Listen.
It's 6:01 on a Tuesday morning, and we were with state police as they raided this apartment in northwest Germany. Inside, 6 armed officers searched a suspect's home, then seized his laptop and cell phone. Prosecutors say those electronics may have been used to commit a crime. The crime, posting a racist cartoon online. At the exact same time across Germany, more than 50 similar raids played out. Part of what prosecutors say is a coordinated effort to curb online hate speech in Germany. Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
And it's a crime to insult them online as well?
Yes.
The fine could be even higher if you insult someone in the internet.
Why?
Because in internet, it stays there. If we are talking here face to face, you insult me, I insult you, okay, finish. But if you in the internet, if I insult you or a politician,
That sticks around forever.
yeah.
This is insane. Like, you hear like one case here or there, you hear these cases and you just think, okay, like that's over there. What does that have to do with me? Well, these things were happening in America too, where we have people that have been arrested and Trump just pardoned them. People, Christians praying and being put in jail. So what does this have to do with immigration? Remember, culture, values, morals are built based upon the God you serve and its decrees. The Christian worldview, our Christian God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is the God that gave us the foundation of the West, whether you like it or not. Okay, it's not just America, but Canada, Great Britain. These ideas are what built Western society. And when they have let these other nations, these other people that serve different gods come bum rush their country, things started to change. And because the leaders, these European leaders and American leaders as well, as JD mentioned in this, he was like, look, it's America too, because we've been doing this too, but I'm here to let you know it's a new sheriff in town and we ain't doing that no more. So y'all need to go and police your own self, since you want to go and separate yourself from the values that we share. I'm not supporting you in values that I don't align with. Why would we do that? That makes no sense to America. So I'm here to serve you. Notice that we ain't doing that anymore. And I would advise you that you get back to who you used to be as well, because these people are playing you. I'm sorry, but some societies run better than others. Some ideas are better than others. The Western way has been better than all the others. It is the one that has uplifted and innovated and advanced the world forward more than any other ideology, worldview. Sorry, that's just what it is. And you have to protect that thing. You have to protect what God has given you. And the enemy uses the circumstance of those people, because they could implement these Western ways too. They choose not to. So what you gonna do? You can't help that. And the enemy uses first it starts as a soft heart. Oh, we can't, they're poor, they're brown, they're black, they're Arab, whatever. They got all these, identity politics they want to play on your heartstrings. The enemy uses this to manipulate believers because they have an agenda. They have a God that they worship. The ones who are pushing this stuff, and it ain't the God that you believe in. The enemy is using these things, just like he does in many of these movements, to pull on your heartstrings for you to say, well, maybe we don't need Christians to be praying. Oh, maybe we should, stop letting people have free speech because we don't want to offend the ones who aren't used to our culture. Child, the enemy uses unchecked immigration to get his agenda into your country. Because when nations gradually start to adopt foreign values and don't make those people assimilate into their values, it erodes it waters down the foundational values that you have. It can only do that. That is the outcome when you have unchecked immigration. It opens the door to undermine your free speech, your religious freedoms, your constitutional freedoms, all of those things, because now you got these other voices who now feel entitled to everything that you have. We are seeing it play out in real time. And then when you have a government that is cool with that, like we had for 4 years in Biden, and these European governments who are like, oh, well, they're weak or they are complicit or whatever, when they're not holding on to it and fighting for what is right and true for the citizens, you have betrayed democracy. You have betrayed the republic, and you are betraying God if you are a believer, because God believes in borders. Just read the Bible about heaven. Its boundaries. It looks innocent, but this is how compromise starts. It is the slow erosion of truth. But what JD Vance did is exactly what you're supposed to do. What does the Bible say about this? Remember Daniel in the lion's den? When he was thrown into the lion's den because he would not conform to the king, he would not bow down to another king. Oh no, he was like, oh, this is the God I serve. JD Vance is going here and saying, listen, this is the God we serve. We used to be aligned, and we ain't helping you until in other words, he's not conforming. He's not conforming to the American left, and he's not conforming to the global left. As believers, we know we are going to face persecution, but we need to remember what the church did back in the day when they were facing persecution. You keep on going. It is what Jesus showed us, exactly what we have to do. We have to just keep going, and we dang on show enough do not bow down. We do not do that. And if those who say that they are with us, then doggone it, be with us. Then be with us. You don't get to play like you with us, but then stabbing us in the back and expecting us to keep funding you. No, we're not doing that anymore. Praise God for that. What do Christians do when we see this coming? You speak out about it. You don't go quietly and say, just whisper to somebody who has the same opinion as you. No, if you see this happening amongst you, you do go down to your city council. You do go down to your school board meetings. You go down and talk to the people who are allowing these things to happen. You make YouTube videos. You speak out about it because you are protecting. You're not keeping something out. You're protecting what is in. Let me know what you think about what I think in the comment section below. What do you think Christians should do in these times as we're being persecuted? Although, yes, Trump is doing a fantastic job, but we still have to do our job because we do not rely on presidents or politicians. We rely on the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.